This is the GRP podcast where we talk about God, religion, and politics. And I'm your host, Hijabi Down Under.
Hey everyone, what if I told you that science proves that God exists? Today we're going to be talking about basic physics. It's stuff you probably already know, but we're just going to think about it together and you're going to see that it's pretty obvious. And then later I'm going to share with you a very juicy quote from Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics. You see, physics is a study of how the universe works, but what's amazing really is that the universe works at all, right? Because according to what we have studied from physics about the universe, every single thing in the universe operates according to very specific laws. And it's these laws that create the order in the cosmos, with the stars and planets in motion and in orbit. Now, you may already be familiar with some of these laws. Isaac Newton is famous for discovering the law of gravitation and the laws of motion. But this is just a little thought experiment, okay? Think about it for a minute. Take the law of gravitation. The law of gravitation tells us that all matter in the universe attracts other matter in the universe, and it does so in a measured way. In fact, so exact is this law of gravitation that it can be expressed in a mathematical equation. But let's not get into the maths at this stage, okay? Let's just consider how this one law of gravity holds together the entire universe. Here are just a few ways this single law keeps the universe in order. Okay, so the first one to think about, this is really simple. Gravity is what stops the moon zooming off into space, right? Because the Earth is quote unquote heavy, it has gravity that keeps the moon orbiting around it. Okay, gravity is also what keeps us humans and all life on Earth from floating off into space. And it's also what keeps the Earth orbiting around the sun and not floating off to another solar system. In fact, the law of gravity is what keeps all planets and all stars all of these stars in their orbits throughout the entire universe. This invisible force of gravity literally is what holds up the heavens. This reminds me of a verse from the Quran where God says, in rough translation, God is the one who raised up the heavens without any support you can see. Then he mounted on the throne and regulated the sun and moon. Each runs along on a specific course. He directs the matter, he manifests signs, so that you may be convinced about meeting your Lord. End quote. Now, the law of gravity, along with the other laws of physics, maintain order throughout the entire cosmos. And if they stopped operating, the entire universe would collapse, and we would cease to exist. Imagine if the law of gravity just stopped for a single day, okay? First thing that would happen is the Earth would no longer be attracted to the sun and it would fly off into space, and the Earth would freeze within a day and we would all die, as would all life on Earth. God says in the Quran, God grasps both heaven and earth, lest either one should slip out of place. If either should slip out of place, no one else would hold on to them besides him. Allah, God, is lenient, forgiving. But just think about this for a second. Every single thing in the entire universe operates under strict laws. What does that tell you? It tells you, if you're actually being honest, if you're being honest with yourself and you're not stubbornly resisting belief in God, it tells you what it told Isaac Newton, the one who discovered these laws, that there is a God who created the universe and has placed everything in it under his command. Or in Isaac Newton's words, his dominion. Listen to this really interesting excerpt from Isaac Newton's book, The Principia, in which he describes the laws of motion and the law of gravitation. He says the following about God. This being governs all things, not as the soul of the world, but as Lord over all. And on account of his dominion, he is wont to be called Lord God, or universal ruler. I'm going to pause here. When he says he is wont to be called Lord God, it means he should be called Lord God. Okay, I'm just roughly translating so you don't get lost. Okay, we're going to go back to the quote. For God is a relative word and has a respect to servants, and deity is the dominion of God not over his own body, as those who fancy God to be the soul of the world, but over servants. Okay, so I'm going to pause again. So when he says he has dominion not over his own body, as those imagine who fancy God to be the soul of the world. So pantheists, I believe, I don't want to say this incorrectly, but I believe that that Hindus are pantheists, for example. So they believe that the entire universe is God, and so what he's saying is that God is not the universe. God rules over the universe. He has dominion over the universe. Right? So we'll go back to the quote. He says, the supreme God is a being eternal, infinite, absolutely perfect. But a being, however perfect, without dominion, cannot be said to be Lord God. For we say, my God, your God, the God of Israel, the God of gods, and Lord of lords. But we do not say, my eternal, your eternal, the eternal of Israel, the eternal of gods. We do not say, my infinite, or my perfect. These are titles which have no respect to servants. The word God usually signifies Lord, but every Lord is not a God. It is the dominion of a spiritual being, which constitutes a God, a true, supreme, or imaginary dominion. It follows that the true God is a living, intelligent, and powerful being. I'm just going to pause here for a second. So this is really interesting. He takes this and he says, look, we say Lord God. Okay, let's just say that if you talk to this is biblical wording, right? So they say Lord God, the God of Israel, the Lord of Israel, right? So what he's saying is that we say these things, we know these things from the Bible, and so the interesting thing is he's saying, look, this is what we believe, and this is what we're finding in the universe, that there is there are laws that the universe actually operates under. So this is why I find this quote from him really, really interesting, because it's actually his belief in God that led him to this amazing discovery that changed the entire history of humanity, right? It changed the course of human history, right? So this amazing discovery of the laws of physics was because he actually had in mind this Lord God who created the universe and who governs over everything. And and that's exactly what we find. We find that everything in the universe operates according to these laws, and it's what creates the order that we see around us. And, after you see this and after you understand this, it's like game over for atheism, right? So there's just no way that you can look at that and not immediately say, you know what? Yeah, I guess you're right. God exists. So I'm going to leave that there, but please, if you like this video, please hit subscribe and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. There's going to be a lot more of these science proves God exists videos, a lot of juicy quotes coming up from other scientists who have also found that that science is proving that God exists. So there's a lot of very interesting stuff coming up. Make sure you hit subscribe and like this video. Thanks for tuning in.